So loops are frequently used to input and output data in an array. The use of loops with array makes the process of input and output faster and easier. It also reduces the code written for this purpose. For example, we have a array with name marks and total size of this array is 10. Then we use a for loop to initialize or to store data on this array as for int I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Here we declare a variable I and start it with from 0 and keep it I is less than 10 as our array's last element is a last index value of marks array is 9. So we take the condition I less than 10 and we use an increment I plus plus. Then we use cout and scene statement. Cout enter marks of the student and I, and scene marks I means it starts from 0 and goes to 9. So here is an example of one-dimensional array. Int main we declare array int marks with 5 elements. Then we use for loop int I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Then we use cout statement and scene statement to insert marks of the students into this array. We write cout enter marks of the student and scene marks and into brackets the index position, which starts from 0 and goes to 4. Similarly, we use the for loop to display these marks one by one on the screen. We use the for loop for int j is equal to 0, j less than 5, j plus plus, and then we use cout statement, c object, cout marks of student, and then we write marks into bracket j where j is the index value. It starts from 0 and goes to 4. Output of our program enter marks of student 0. When we enter the marks, then we see the output as the left hand side enter marks of student 0 is equal to 10, enter marks of student 1, we enter 20, enter marks of the student 2, we enter marks 30, enter marks of the student 3, we enter 40, enter marks of the student 4, we enter 50. Here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the index value of the array. When we want to display the marks of the students, then the output on the right side where marks of 0 student is 10 shows on the screen, marks of 1 student is 20 shown on the screen, marks of 2 student is 30 shown on the screen, marks of 3 student is 40 shown on the screen, and similarly marks of 4 student is 50 shows on the screen. Let's have a problem statement. Write a C++ program to ask 5 numbers from user and display the sum using array. In this program, user enter 5 different numbers and then the program displays the sum of these numbers on the screen. We perform the coding using arrays. Code. In the main program, first of all, we declare a array with 5 elements. Then we declare 2 more variables to calculate the sum and variable I used in the for loop to enter the values. So into the in for loop we write for I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Then we use scene object to enter the marks in this array. We write scene array I, where array is the name and I is the index value of this array. Then we calculate the sum of these numbers. We write sum is equal to sum plus array I. Sum is initially 0 and it updates after each iteration of the for loop, and it sums up with array I, the number we entered on the index point of the array. Then when this for loop close, then we write cout of we use cout object to display the sum on the screen. We write cout and sum, then return 0. Here is the output of this program. When it asks us to enter 5 numbers, we enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it sums this number and print on the screen. So remember that we declare an array of 10 elements. Then we write int myArray into 10. It declares an array with name myArray, and total number of positions is size is equal to 10. You can use the array member from myArray 0 to myArray 9. If you try to access array elements outside its bound, let's say myArray 40, the compiler may not show any error. Remember that the compiler may not show any error. However, this may cause unexpected output. It gives you a garbage value already stored on that memory location. The constant keyword. The constant keyword is used to create a read-only variable. Once initialized, the value of the variable cannot be changed but can be used just like any other variable. In array, const keyword used like use in variable. The keyword const can be used with any data type and it written before the data type. For example, if we want to declare a array with name array size and integer type int, then we insert a const keyword in before initializing this array, and so here we write const int array is equal to 10, int marks into array size. So here array size becomes a constant. It cannot change in the program. So here we have a problem statement. Write a program which calculates the sum of squares of 5 numbers and stored in an array. So it is the same program we write before with a little change, that is in this time we want the sum of squares of 5 numbers. First of all, we make the size of the length of the array fixed, so we use const keyword. We write const int array size is equal to 5. We declare a variable array size and give it a value of 5. Then we use this variable in our array for the length of the array. We write int array, and in the length or the size of the array we write array size, variable array size. So then we want to find the square sum of the squares of these elements, so we declare another variable int sum of squares is equal to 0. we initialize it with 0. Then we use for loop to enter the values in this array. We write for int I is equal to 0, I less than array size I plus plus, and C in I am with the array with the index value, that is I. Then we use the for loop to calculate the sum of squares of these variables. We write sum of squares is equal to sum of squares plus array j static array j. Then we print the value of sum of squares of these values, these variables. Here is the output. For example, if we write enter the numbers 1 2 3 4 5, then we get the sum of squares is 55 as the output of this program. How to copy one array into another array? For copying data from one array to another, both the arrays need to be of same data type and same size. For example, if we want to copy the data of first array into the second array, then the first array, which has the data type int and the size 10, and then so the second array has the same data type as the first array, that is int, and the same size, that is 10. So here is the process to copy data from one array to another array. First of all, we initialize the both arrays, then we copy first array into the second array by using the index elements of both arrays. For example, for 0 index values, we first array index 0 is equal to second array 0. It copies first array uh, 0 index value into this second array at 0 index. Similarly, second array 1, second array 2, second array 9 is equal to first array 9. So each index copy from the other array index at the same time. Or we have another better code. We use loops instead of copying or writing each index separately. We use loops. So if we have two arrays, first array and second array, we both have int data type and same size 10, then we use for loop. In for loop, we simply write the second array index which in which we want to copy the data from the first array and makes it equal to the first array of the same index. So here is the example. For example, first of all, we declare a first array and a second array. Then we use a for loop to enter values into the first array. We write for int I is equal to 0, I less than the size, I plus plus, and in the body we enter the values in the first array. We use again for loop to copy these values into the second array. Then we write this code as in the body of the for loop, second array into j is equal to first array is equal to j. Then we print the values on the screen. We write cout after copying cout first array, second array elements, and we use similarly for loop to print all the values on the screen. So here is of our program. When we, for example, when it asks us to enter data for the first array, we enter 1 2 3 4 5. Then it shows us the values of second array and first array after copying, that is 1 2 3 4 5 in first array, and similarly these 1 2 3 4 5 copy into the second array on the same index values.